Hey guys, welcome to my page. So this is my second attempt at smoking brisket. First time around, it was a 5 or 6 pound brisket flat that I had. It was real dry, nothing to brag about, terrible. This time is a 14, 15 pound piece of whole brisket that I got from Costco. The whole brisket includes the point and the flat. Lots to learn. Didn't know initially that the flat and the point, they could have 20-degree difference while smoking in internal temperature. So definitely a learning experience for me. So I'm just cutting away at the hard cap. Some fat that's not edible. Also just trimming away at the silver skin, making it look nice and pretty. The pit masters talk about aerodynamics, so that's what I'm doing. Look at all that fat. I guess the area that I'm cutting right now is called the mohawk. Looking rather beautiful over here. I must have trimmed off at least 2.5 pounds of fat and just extra parts. The one that's in that bowl in the sink. At the end of the day, after all that trimming I did on that side, when I was ready to eat, or should I say ready to slice at the end, I noticed that I still had a really big chunk of fat on the point. So there was an area that I definitely didn't trim well enough. That probably also affected my ability to render the fat, or just get that meat over there just nice and juicy, because the fat was just overprotecting it, maybe a little too thick. That's my thoughts. Also, this little boning knife that I'm using, I don't exactly have the best knives, but I feel like maybe halfway in the trimming process, my the knife just was a struggle to work with. In terms of, it felt like it was getting more dull every time. Perhaps I need to be in the market for something that's more brisket or fat cutting related. Or maybe I just need to sharpen the knife. Who the heck knows? So now I'm applying the dry rub. I put all the ingredients into a solo cup. Wasn't exactly the best way of evenly distributing the ingredients over the brisket. For the brisket as a binder, I use just water. I know that some restaurants in Texas do that, so I just gave it a try. Usually I would just use yellow mustard, which helps with adhering the rub to the actual meat, create a nice bark. Pretty much just did my best to apply the rub evenly, patting it down. Stuck to it, so that's all that matters. What a nice piece of meat. So this is how it turned out. Nothing crazy. Definitely could have added a little more rub to it by using a better binder, perhaps. So tonight I want to be using my Primo XL 400. Stuffed a bunch of charcoal in it, mostly big pieces. And then I found in my collection of wood chunks that I had some post oak that I don't ever really use. I know it's very popular in Texas for everyone to use. But yeah, post oak, natural lump charcoal is what I'm using. Using a couple fire starters. And after that, I'm going to be using my Fireboard Pro 2, which is pretty much what I'm going to be using to help keep the temperature at about 225, or I think it's like 200 for the first 4 hours. And then I want to ramp it up to 250, and then like 275, 300 afterwards. So now it's finally about that time where I put the brisket onto the smoker. Got the Primo XL initially mainly because it's 24 inches wide and I could put any size brisket on it. This thing fits perfectly. The two foil pans are more than wide enough to collect any type of fat that drips below. I got a temp probe I'm putting into the point, and then I got another one that I'm just putting into flat. Third one is for ambient temperature, so I'm clipping it on there. Want to make sure I know what's going on for the next 14, 16 hours. Take a look at the rain cap on the rain cap in the rainstorm. So now it's 16 hours later. Everything's probing around 190, 195. I was starting to get tired of the rain, so I brought the brisket inside and put it in the oven at 300 degrees for about 45 minutes or an hour. Finish it off around 203, 205. So this is how it turned out after resting it in the oven for an extra hour and a half at 170 degrees. Came up pretty nice, especially for a second attempt. The bark looks pretty good. Definitely think that maybe I could have added more dry rub to it initially, perhaps with a better binder like mustard. Also just maybe a second coating of rub in general. After 18, 19 hours of waiting since I first put it on the smoker, finally get to cut it for the first time. I was so ready for it. And look at that juice just pouring out of the flat. Now, there was a lot of juice pouring out. I don't know if that's exactly a really good thing or bad in any way. But I definitely was happy with the fact that the flat didn't come out dry as hell. Now that's the point right there. It looks pretty good. There's like a smoke ring going on. Could be more pronounced, but I could see some fat that was rendered. Okay, still pouring out. Okay, some double action right there. Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Oof. So when I was slicing the flat, it definitely wasn't the most tender of a slice. But it really makes me wonder how it could have turned out if I had used a better piece of meat from the start too. I'll be very honest. Initially, I was looking at maybe buying like a Snake River Farms American Wagyu or something else that was a lot more expensive at like $150 a brisket, but it definitely didn't make sense being that this was going to be my second attempt. Definitely want to make sure I have some practice in before I potentially mess up anything with a much more expensive piece of meat. Now this flat right here, that piece of meat right there, that looks rather nice. It could definitely have a little more fat rendering, but I was pretty pleased with how it came out. Nice and juicy. Definitely a nice view right here. Here's a little close-up of a piece of flat. I feel like maybe if it was more tender, it definitely would have folded a little more. So this is the part where I'm slicing at the point, and then I realize there was a huge chunk of fat that I did not trim well enough. That entire side I just put to the side was fat. Some of the I want to make sure I'm aware of next time I ever try to smoke a brisket. That piece tasted really nice. I remember that one. Here's a little close up of that fat. Look how thick that one was. Aye. So here's another close up of the fat that I could definitely have trimmed off from the start. Hopefully this is something that anyone who's watching can learn from, try to prevent, and also it's definitely something I want to prevent for my third attempt. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching my video. Definitely was a learning experience for myself. Hopefully it taught a few things for you guys as well. I'll be posting a lot more videos of smoking seafood, beef plate ribs, and much more. If you can follow my page, that'll be really appreciated. Cheers guys. See ya.